Well, a very, very happy Monday morning to everyone, and welcome to the John Kentera Show on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Had a great weekend. Hopefully, you did as well. A lot of going on in the sports world between the baseball playoffs, college football, NFL, NBA getting cranked up. NHL starts on Tuesday night. So we got a lot to cover over the next several months as we wait for the Padres pitchers and catchers to report in the middle of February. But man, a lot of good stuff over the weekend. Man, how about UCLA taking down Penn State? Wasn't that something else? 42-37. That was amazing. Bruins had no chance in that game going in, and they found a way to get it done, so that was exciting. But we're going to get into the Aztec win on Friday night. I attended along with Jonathan Oliveri. We had a great time. Aztecs go to 4-1, but we'll talk more about that a little bit later on in the program. We're going to get into a lot of Padre baseball today, and I need to hear from you fans. I'm telling you right now, I need to hear from you today on the program. So if you're tuning in for the very, very first time, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I would also ask you to please subscribe to our channel. We're trying to build our viewership, especially going into the off season. Please like the show. Please send in your questions. And for only $2.99 a month, you can become a Gold Glove member of Coach John Kentera's program. So just go to our YouTube page, and you'll see a sign says join, and just hit that, and bingo, you'll get all signed up, and you'll be a part of our Gold Glove member package. And we got a lot to bring you during the off season. Very excited about the off season. Padres have a lot to do during the off season, and we're going to get into that a little bit later on. We're going to talk about who the Padre free agents are, who may be coming back, who may be exiting. But the first thing we have to talk about, now, I heard about this over the weekend, but I didn't want to go with it. I could have done a special show on Saturday night on this, but I didn't want to do that because I couldn't confirm it. I confirmed it last night, but today, Jeff Sanders, a good friend of ours, had an article in the paper. Fernando Tatis Jr. in the District Court of Columbia, an arbitrator, ruled that he owes Big League Advance $3.74 million. Now, this is not going to be the end of this. He signed a deal, which to this day, when I first heard about this a couple of years ago, I can't believe that the Tatis family would have signed this deal. Primarily because the father, Fernando Tatis Sr., played in the big leagues, had an agent, yet they signed a deal when Fernando Tatis Jr. was 18 years of age to take $2 million. And by taking the $2 million, they signed a contract with Big League Advance that they would have to pay 10% of all future earnings, not just the contract with Major League Baseball that Fernando would eventually sign for $340 million, 14-year deal, but, marketing deals, 10%. Now, having worked in the agent business, this is ludicrous. This is ludicrous that they would have signed this. And I can't believe that they were desperate. Why would you need $2 million? How about 1 million? How about 500,000? But you still wouldn't sign it for 10%. The going rate as an agent. Some agents charge 5%, some charge 4%. Okay, I know this. I still have my certification with Major League Baseball. I send in my money every year to keep my agent certification. And this is crazy. But he owes them 3.74 million. He hasn't paid like in a year and a half or 2 years. So he's got to pay this money back. Now, where this will go, I don't know. I'm sure the Tatises are going to do everything possible to get out of having to pay any future money to Big League Advance. This is ludicrous that anybody, and he's not the only guy, there are going to be other players that we hear about that have signed a deal like this. And we've been saying all year long, what is wrong with Fernando? What is wrong with he's not playing with the passion? He's playing like somebody stole his dog, and his heart is in his stomach. He has not been the same player. He got off to a good start first 6, 7 weeks. Heck, we were talking, as is everybody was, around baseball. Hey, this guy could be the MVP of the National League this year. And then he ended up hitting 268. He had his 25 home runs, played a good outfield, had some stolen bases, but he wasn't the same player. And we keep saying, is he ever going to get back to being the old Fernando? I don't know. But I know off the field, he got some big problems here. I mean, he got to cut a check for $3.74 million, and he may have to continue to pay big league advance unless something happens through the court of law. I mean, at $340 million just on his baseball salary over the next, umpteen years, he's going to owe this company a total of $34 million just on his salary. That's not if he does a commercial or does a poster or something. He's got to pay 10% of all of his future earnings. I mean, this is crazy. I just don't get what they were thinking. Why did they need $2 million that badly? Did they want to invest it in something? Maybe they wanted to invest it and they thought they were going to get their money back somehow. But this is crazy. I mean, things like this happen. I mean, Big League Advance, give them credit. They talked the kid into it and the family into it. But man, this is a bad deal all the way around. 10% is just ridiculous. That's double what most agents get. And agents, they get the contract. And, if you have them signed up for marketing, they'd get, a percentage of marketing as well. Sometimes that'll vary. That may be 10% on marketing sometimes. But Fernando's got to write the check. It's that simple. That's a rough one right there, but very, very poor advice, bad decision. There's no other way to explain that. It just is. Okay. I can't believe the heat that Mike Shildt is taking and his coaching staff, namely Victor Rodriguez, the hitting coach. Victor Rodriguez in 2024, everybody was praising him. Oh, man, they're doing a great job. They're going the other way. They're not striking out. And they didn't strike out a lot this year. They just don't have a lot of power. I mean, the Padres were 28th in baseball this year in home runs. Now, some of that came, Fernando hit 25. You're hoping he'd hit 35. Jackson Merrill was on the IL 3 different times. Okay, you're not getting a whole lot of power out of your catcher spot or your first base spot. Okay. Bogarts is not the power guy he once was, where he used to hit, 17 to 20, maybe 23 home runs. He had 11 home runs. Okay. But a year ago, Victor Rodriguez, everybody's praised. Oh, man, this is really great, man. The Padres were really doing a good job working the count and doing this and going the other way and shortening up and putting the ball in play with 2 strikes. Now everybody wants Victor Rodriguez fired. Hey, Victor Rodriguez is as good a coach now as he was a year ago. This guy's a great baseball man. Okay, and I'm not going to sit here and defend Victor Rodriguez because he doesn't need to be defended. The guy's a quality coach, and people need to get off his ass. Now, he may be the fall guy here. That doesn't mean the guy's not a good hitting coach. I've seen a lot of good hitting coaches in San Diego get fired. I've also seen some hitting coaches in San Diego that got fired that should have never been hired as hitting coaches, quite frankly. And I know because I know a lot about hitting, and I've been around that batting cage, and I watch what guys do. And there's some good coaches, and there's some mediocre coaches. There's some guys that are just, they're thrown into a position they're not qualified for whatever reason. Okay, maybe they're a guy that's a leak to the front office. They want the guy down there to report back to the front office. And I'm not saying that happens here in San Diego, but that happens. But Victor Rodriguez may walk the plank. The Padres are going to have a bunch of meetings this week and try to decipher what the hell happened. Well, I'll tell you what happened. Their leadoff hitter went 1 for 12. Their big power hitting third baseman went 1 for 10. Ran into one, but had a miserable series. And Luis Ariz, he had a couple of hits. But between Machado and Tatis, they went 2 for 22. That doesn't help. But Victor Rodriguez is a good coach. Now, I want to talk about Mike Shildt because Mike Shildt is taking all kinds of heat. I'm reading article after article after article, people saying, "Oh man, he got to change. He got to change. He got to quit bunting." Well, I got news for you. Mike Shildt, a year ago, when they went to the second round and got beat by the Dodgers when they couldn't hit against quality pitching, he won 93 games, 93 and 69 in 2024. They won in the first round, the wild card round, and then they got beat when they had kind of the Dodgers on the ropes, and they let the Dodgers off. So he won 93 games, 93 and 69. I'll sign up for that. And then this year, it was a disappointing year. They won 90 games, but how many games did they leave on the field because they couldn't score in the late innings? There were a bunch of them. But they still won 90 games, 90 and 72. That's a damn good year. I'm looking at it personally as a little bit of a disappointing year because the Dodgers once again left the door open for the Padres to do something dynamic and they couldn't get it done. But everybody's bitching about Mike Shildt bunting too much. I got news for you. When you're 28th in baseball out of 30 teams in home runs and you're 18th in runs scored, you got to find a way to move runners along, folks. And I went back. I dug my ass off last night trying to find out some stats on sacrifice bunts. I know that the Padres led Major League Baseball by a wide margin in sacrifice bunts. They had 48. And everybody, they must think that like Machado's bunting and Tatis is bunting. They weren't bunting. The lower third of the order bunted. And I went back and I'm gonna read off every sacrifice bunt the Padres had this past year. Luis Ariz, a number 2 hitter, a left-hand hitter. You want to be able to bunt. You want to be able to set the table for your 3-4 guy. If Tatis can't steal a base, he had 12. He led the ball club with 12. So that's 1/4 of the 48 right there. Then you had your catchers. And let's face it, Maldonado, not a hitter. Elias Diaz every once in a while would run into one, but hit, just barely 200. Maldonado hit under 200 or 203, something like that when he got DFA'd, yet they brought him back because they were in dire straits. Maldonado had 6. Freddie Fermin, who was here for 7 weeks, he had 6. So the catching core right there had 12, and then Diaz had 5. So there's 17 of the 48. And Maldonado and Diaz and Fermin a lot of times hit 8th or 9th. Okay, that's understandable. You want to move the line. Okay, Cronenworth had 4, Iglesias had 4, and Tyler Wade had 4. Bryce Johnson had 1. All those guys have to be able to lay down a bunt. Brandon Lockridge, before he got moved, he had 2. Bogarts had 1, and Merrill had 1. All right? So, everybody needs to get off of Mike Shildt. Now, I think most of you that have paid attention to my podcast, I'm not jumping for joy and clicking my heels about Mike Shildt. But Mike Shildt found a way to win 93 games in 90 games. That's hard to argue with. He got them into the playoffs, back-to-back years. That's a damn good job. Does Mike Shildt have to do some things a little bit different going forward? Yeah, probably. But how about getting him a couple of better players? The ball club wasn't bad this year, but losing Laureano really hurt for the playoffs. But again, that's the way it goes, man. You had Sheets out there. Sheets had a good year. He played well. He had a very good year. Ryan O'Hearn did a nice job coming over. Freddie Fermin was fantastic. Mason Miller was off the chart. They got beat by a better ball club. The Cubs played better. Cubs made the plays. It's as simple as that. But all this yelling and griping about Mike Shildt, you know what? We're going to gripe and complain about every Padre manager until they win the World Series. And then if we win a World Series the following year, if they just make it to the playoffs and get beat in the wild card round, everybody will want to fire that guy. Hey, the players have to have some accountability. Hell, Cronenworth didn't even have a damn hit in 3 games. He was 0 for 11. Bogarts played well. Manning stunk. Fernando stunk. Okay, Merrill did a good job. He had a homer, 2 doubles. Ariz was okay. Ariz played some pretty good defense, turning that 3-6-1 double play to get out of a jam, and then he threw a runner out at the plate. Ariz at least plays with some fire, and you can say, well, he didn't run that ball out. Yeah, he thought the guy caught the line drive, and he made a mistake, but the guy normally hustles down the line. I'd say he hustles down the line more than a lot of guys do. And, Sheets didn't have a good series. O'Hearn was like 2 for 9. Freddie Fermin was the Padres' best hitter. They got beat by a better team. Dansby Swanson played his ass off in that series. He made like 5 great plays. In game 1, he made 2 that saved at least 2, if not more, runs. So some days the ball doesn't bounce your way. So I think we need to kind of cool our heels on Victor Rodriguez and on Mike Shildt. Maybe they'll make some other coaching changes. I don't know. Maybe the first base coach is going to get fired or the third base coach. I don't know. You never know what's going on behind the scenes. But you know what? These guys have been good enough the last 2 years to get to the playoffs. You just got to get a couple of better players. You got to be a little bit deeper too. I mean, Bryce Johnson did a nice job this year, but he's more of a fifth outfielder than he is a fourth outfielder. But he did a nice job. Switch hitter, can run, can bunt, can steal, plays great defense, can play any of the three outfield spots. I'm not going to dog him. I think there's a spot for him on our ball club or on another major league ball club. He did a nice job. He worked hard, was always properly prepared. I was actually pleasantly surprised by Bryce Johnson. But you got to have that bench strength, and that's key. Now, let's get to Padre potential free agents. And this is where it's going to get really interesting. And there's some things that could change. Luis Arraez made $14 million this year. I don't see the Padres wanting to pay Luis Arraez at a power position for a non-power player $14 million. And I would imagine there might be a team out there that'll pay him a little bit more. But I would love Luis Arraez. I like him. I love his enthusiasm, his spunk, his attitude. He shows up wanting to get better each and every day. I just don't think the Padres, where they're at right now, and they'll probably cut payroll again. I just don't see him being a part of the Padres, even though he wants to be a part of the Padres. I just don't see them, giving him a 3-year contract at $15 million. $15 million for 3 years at $45 million. I just don't see that. You give me your opinion on that. Ryan O'Hearn. Now, here's a guy that made $7.5 million. He's 32 years of age. What kind of contract are you going to give him? A 1-year deal? Maybe a bump it to $8 million because he had a good year. He was an all-star with Baltimore. He hit cleanup in the all-star game as a designated hitter for the American League. What do you do with him? I mean, he gives you more power than Arraez. Maybe you offer him, a 2-year deal for $16 million, something like that. Maybe he's looking for more. Maybe there's teams out there that'll give him more. But I'm not going to break the bank on either one of these guys. As much as I'd like Arraez back, I think he's gone. And then Jose Iglesias, I think he played at $3 million this year. If you want to bring him back, right around that figure, great. If not, you let him walk. Try to get younger. I think you need to get younger. He's a very talented defensive player. Did not swing the bat very well here in San Diego. Yeah, he gives you a quality at bat. Just didn't have a good year. And I know there for a while he was kind of in the cooler. He wasn't playing a whole lot. Then when he played, he got hot. He had a couple of big hits. But overall, did not have a good year. But, man, he can play third base. And I think going forward, the Padres are going to have to give Manny a few more days off. And I think Manny will come back fresher and swing the bat better. I know he wants to be in there 162. He's 33, going to be 34 his next birthday. Manny needs to start taking some days off, and the manager needs to take control of that situation. There have been a lot of veteran players over the years that I've seen. They wanted to play every day, but you give them a day off, not only physically, but mentally, and they come back and they get on a tear. Really, I think they're going to have to seriously consider giving Manny a little time off. And that doesn't mean just, give him time off by letting him DH. Let him DH once in a while, but just give him a complete day off every once in a while. I think that may help Manny a little bit. Okay, so you got Arraez, O'Hearn, and Iglesias. And again, I don't think they're going to be able to afford Arraez. I think he's probably looking to get a nice contract, a long-term deal of at least 3 years. I don't think the Padres, where they're at right now, can afford to do that. O'Hearn, maybe more in play. And then Iglesias, if you think you want to bring him back at $3 million, great. If not, go a different direction and try to get younger. The guy that may take that spot is Will Wagner, quite frankly. Left-hand hitter, can play second, can play third. I don't know if he can play short. And that when you have a utility spot, you got to have a guy that can play shortstop. And then maybe that's where Cronenworth comes in. And you tell Jake, hey, you know what? During the winter, you got to take some ground balls at short. Cronenworth can still play shortstop. But Cronenworth's a guy you may be looking to move, quite frankly. I think we've seen the best of Jake Cronenworth. Okay, now let's get to the pitchers. Michael King, mutual option for $15 million and a $3.75 million buyout. Now let's be smart here. Don't you think Michael King, and he showed in the postseason the 1 inning, he gave up a hit and he had 3 strikes. He threw the ball really well, and he's back healthy. Don't you think there's somebody out there that's going to give him $20 million a year in like a 3-year contract, like 3 years, $60 million, maybe even a little bit more? And when they look back to what he did in 2024, and when he pitched and he was healthy in 2025, he pitched really well. Michael King, $15 million, the Padres on a mutual option, or he gets a $3.75 million buyout. Now let's do the math on this. He gets 3.75 for saying no, I don't want to come back, and I don't want to play with the Padres. Now he could take the buyout, then he could renegotiate with the Padres, and then they could give him a long-term deal if they wanted to do that. But he gets 3.75 million to go out on the free agent market. 3.75 just to say, no, I'm going to be a free agent. If I'm Michael King, as much as I maybe want to be a Padre and get 15 million, I want to get 3.75 for just saying that I'm going to go out and be a free agent and see what is out there. He's going to get a big deal. I mean, he's still young enough. He's going to get a nice 2, 3, 4-year deal. Maybe a 5-year deal. I don't like giving pitchers 5-year deals. I like 3 years or less. But a lot of times, if you need a guy, you need him. You got to overpay for him. You got to give him more years. But yeah, King gets 3.75 million to say goodbye. Robert Suarez. This is a no-brainer. The guy led baseball and he had 40 saves this year. 2-year player option that right after the World Series, he's got to make a decision within 5 days whether or not he wants that 2-year player option. So it would be for 26 and 27 and 8 million per season. So it'd be a 2-year deal for 16 million. Okay, and he made 10 million this year. So I think he's going out on the free agent market. Dylan Cease, free agent, made 13.75. You could give him a qualifying offer to where he could play next year, and I think the qualifying offer is going to be a little over 21 million. Do you want to bring Dylan Cease back for a little over $21 million? Might not be a bad bargain, but if he declines the qualifying offer, then whoever he signs with, you'll get some compensation. So I'd give him a qualifying offer. I mean, you got to have pitching, and if you can get Dylan Cease at 21 million or a little bit more, that's kind of a deal. If you believe that he can turn it around. I mean, he had a rough year. Threw great in the playoff game the other day. Okay, Wandy Peralta, player option for 2026 at 4.45, and a player option for 2027 at 4.45. I think he comes back. There's probably somebody out there that may give him a little bit more, but I don't think a whole lot more. And while Wandy Peralta, as frustrating as he can be from time to time, he ended up having a really nice year, and Mike Shildt brought him in to a lot of very, very difficult situations. Okay, Ramon Laureano, thank goodness. There's a club option for 6.5. Club option for 6.5, so he should be back. I cannot imagine them declining that contract. Why would you decline that contract for a guy that's 31 going on 32? Okay, bring him back. Let him become a free agent after next year if that's what you want to do, but you got to bring him back. Coming off a great year. So 6.5. So now I'm looking at the outfield of the Padres. You got Laureano, right-hand hitter. You got Gavin Sheets will be back. He'll get a little bump in salary. Not a lot, but he'll get a bump. You got Jackson Murray, you got Fernando, and hopefully Fernando gets his act together. So your outfield is in good shape. That's if they bring back Ramon Laureano. Why would they not bring him back? They got to bring him back, don't they? What do you think about that, folks? I got to bring him back. Okay, Elias Diaz. Now, Freddie Fermin is going to be here for the next few years. They got him under control, which is good. So you got a frontline catcher who played great, swung the bat well, and I think only going to get better with more playing time. I mean, he's 30 years of age, Fermin, but he played behind Sal Perez, learned a lot from Sal Perez in Kansas City, and now is getting an opportunity. And I think the big thing for Fermin, he caught more in the last 6, 7 weeks with the Padres, consistently. And how will he hold up through an entire season? So you got to get him some help. Now, Elias Diaz, I wouldn't think they would bring him back. They got a mutual option, $7 million for next year, but he gets a $2 million buyout. So if he wants out, he gets $2 million. The Padres don't bring him back, he gets $2 million. He made $7 million. You can't bring a backup catcher back here next year for $7 million. So you probably have to bite the bullet on that. Nestor Cortez, unless you believe he can come back from that flexor tendon, I think you're saying goodbye. Started with Milwaukee this year, finished up with the Padres, finished up on the IL with arm problems, 7.6 this past year. I don't know. I'll let AJ Preller decide that one. But that's where we're at right now with the Padre free agents. Of course, there are going to be guys that get bumps. I mean, guys like Adrian Morejon, they're going to get more money. Jason Adam, they're going to make a little bit more money. But that's where we're at right now. Okay, time to get to the live questions on Coach's Crew. And I'm sure everybody, after I don't know if we all decompressed after what happened last Thursday, but man, I'll tell you, it's a rough one. It's a rough one right now. Padre season being over. All right, let's get out to our questions this morning. Bobby, Pete Alonso coming to Petco. One can dream. They're not going to do that. They can't afford. I bet you Alonso ends up going back to the Mets. He opted out of his deal, but he can go back there. They can give him more money. Boy, you think the Padres are rough? How about the Mets? The Mets didn't even make the damn playoffs. That's amazing to me. That's just a major flub, and they're going to make some coaching changes. But the manager's coming back. Stephen Cohen apologizing to the fans there, but now the polar bear is going to stay on the East Coast, I believe. I don't see him going anywhere. Oh, and by the way, congratulations to Skip Schumacher, former Padre coach, taking over for Bruce Bochy there with the Texas Rangers. So there's also a rumor out there Albert Pujols could be the new manager of the Angels. How about that? Saw a rumor last night that Yadier Molina may be in the running for the managerial spot with the San Francisco Giants. Wouldn't that be something? Wow, that'd be really something. But I think the polar bear stays on the East Coast, Bobby. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Casey King, good morning, Coach. And my Dodgers got game one, and Sasaki looked good in the pen closing. And I think long term, he could be a good closer. In the long term, what do you think about him as a closer? Well, I'll tell you what. I was at a party the other night, and I was with the parents of one of the catchers for Philadelphia, Garrett Stubbs. He's not on the postseason roster. He was last year, but there's a whole story behind that. But he's in the dugout, and I'm with his mom and dad at a party the other night. We're watching the game. And Sasaki comes in. First pitch, they're in the bottom of the ninth, high and outside, or low and away, I guess it was. And he come back. Next 10 pitches through 9 strikes, gave up a hit, but retired the side with 1 strikeout. He looked fantastic. Dave Roberts had to be a little bit nervous. Even though Sasaki, it looked good down the stretch against Seattle, up in Seattle. Bringing him into that hostile environment in Philadelphia, he looked fantastic. I mean, Ohtani gave up the 3 runs in the second inning, and then did a hell of a job. Had 9 strikeouts and 1 walk. Gave up 3 hits, 1 walk, 3 earned runs in the second, and the rest of the time he threw shutout baseball. How about Ohtani the other night? Dodgers win. They get the 3-run homer from Teoscar Hernandez in the 7th inning. But Ohtani struck out 4 times. Ohtani was no factor offensively. So it'll be interesting. They play today at 3:08. I got the Snellzilla going today. Blake Snell going for the Dodgers. Left-hander Jesus Luzardo going for the Phillies. That's a must-win, I think, for Philly. They lose today. They're in dire straits having to come back and play the next 2 games at Dodger Stadium. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to watching that one today. But Ohtani looked good. Glass now came in, did a pretty good job, got himself in a pickle there in the 8th inning. But Alex Vesia, the kid out of Steel Canyon High here in San Diego, he came in and got Sosa to fly out to center field to end the inning, and then they turned it over to Sasaki. So we'll see what happens today. Casey, yeah, thank you very much. I very much appreciate that question. All right, what else? Big Max Wells. Shildt never changed lineups for a team that was supposed to be winning on the margins. He did nothing to try and change things up. You know what, Max? Here's the deal. And I say this from being a guy that's made out a lot of lineup cards in a variety of different levels. Never the big leagues, but, a major college, junior college, high school. I don't know. As a player, I like to know where I was going to hit daily. You kind of take on the persona. If you're a number five guy or a cleanup guy or a leadoff guy, it's your mental makeup. And you start moving guys around, I think it creates uneasiness. Not everybody, and I know the way the game is played now, opposed to, 20, 30, 40 years ago, where you run out the same lineup day in and day out. A lot of these guys, as they come up in college and even in high school, but in pro ball, in the minor leagues, then they get the big league, they're used to, juggling up and down the lineup. But Manny's going to hit second or third. Tatis is going to hit first or third or fourth. Um, but some of those other guys, I don't know. I mean, there's nobody at the bottom third of the lineup that I thought should be hitting in the number five or number six spot. At the end of the day, like I tell everyone, and I guess I try to make it too easy, but every place you play as a ball player, once you get out of Little League, and Pony League, and you get into a regular diamond, every mound in America is 60 feet 6 inches from home plate, and every home plate is 17 inches wide. You got to swing the bat. You got to swing the bat. And I don't know if the Padre hitters guess a lot, but I'll tell you what, man, they had some bad at bats. I mean, Fernando, even the first swing the other day in Game 3 against Tyon, that was a tired swing. Tired swing. He took some terrible swing. Manny was awful. Manny could not hit a breaking ball on the outside part of the plate. He's trying to yank everything. I mean, that ball's 4 inches off his bat. So I think we got to put some accountability on the players, not so much on the manager. Manager, once he makes out the lineup card, man, you got to go out and play. And everybody's gotten a kind of a free pass here with the players. Manny's gotten a free pass. Fernando's definitely gotten a free pass. And I'm not saying you're going to beat these guys up like you do with the players in New York or Philadelphia, but it's always the manager or the hitting coach's fault here in San Diego. When do the players have to take some accountability for stinking up the joint? And the Cubs just played better. The Cubs outworked them. They outworked them and they outsmarted them and out executed them. It's that simple. But, I understand your point about shaking the lineup up. I don't think you're going to do that in the play. You may do that during the regular season every once in a while, but for the most part, guys take on the persona of where they bat and what they're looking to do. And I don't know, maybe you think that's a cop out, but I don't think it is. It's just, man, it's tough down there sometimes. It's not easy to hit, though. But it looked like the Padres, they just kind of, I don't know what they were doing. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. You're like I've said all along, and I said it on KUSI, I said it on different chats that people would ask me questions. Unless Tatis and Machado hit, this team's not going to win. You got to have your big boys. I mean, it's like the Dodgers. They got a lot of big boys, but their guys are playing. I mean, Mookie Betts had a bad year, but Mookie Betts is playing really well. He didn't have a hit the other night, but he's had a good last 2 months of the year. When he had that press conference, it wasn't even a press conference. They stuck a mic in his face after a game one night. He goes, "You know what? My season's over." He goes, I can't go back and make up for what I've lost. And of course, he started the year, he lost 20 pounds. Remember when they were going over to Japan and he was sick and it was terrible. He lost 20 pounds, got off to a terrible start. But you know what? Ever since he kind of took the pressure off himself in the clubhouse that night, saying, "My season's over. I just got to go out and play day in and day out now and see what I can muster," played really, really well. But the guy shows up to play every day. And by the way, I think Mookie Betts, I think he could win a Gold Glove. You know that he led the National League and maybe all of baseball this year in defensive runs saved at shortstop? That's pretty amazing for a guy that's won, 6 Gold Gloves, the right fielder? Worked his tail off. He's a really good shortstop. I don't know how many years they're going to play him at shortstop. That's pretty amazing. I mean, guy's 32 years old and moves from right field to shortstop a year ago. And now it's going to be definitely one of the finalists for the Gold Glove, I would imagine. But Padre players need to take some accountability more than anything else. All right, Max, thank you very much. You know what, folks? We're all looking for answers for this ball club. We really are. This was so frustrating the way they went out. O2RR, thank you very much. Very much appreciate that. That's very kind of you on that super. 41 years ago today, the Padres came back to beat the Cubs and force decisive Game 5. Steve Garvey went 4 for 5 with a double homer and 5 RBIs. And I remember exactly where I was. I was laying on a bed in Anaheim, right there on Catella Avenue. I was at a basketball camp. I'd listened to a man that just passed away a couple of weeks ago, George Raveling and Ralph Miller, talk on offensive and defensive rebounding. I was at a basketball clinic. It was kind of an all sports clinic that I went to. I watched the game and I was all bent out of shape because the Padres were getting beat. And Garvey hit the home run. I jumped up out of bed, took a shower, put a nice suit on, and went down and had a big steak dinner by myself. My wife wasn't there. I was all fired up. I remember John Mafucci, the longtime Army Navy athletic director, football coach, basketball, baseball coach. Him and his wife were in the restaurant eating. I went by, said hello to Coach Mafucci, and then went to a table by myself, ordered the biggest steak they had. And I was so excited. I got up the next morning and drove my rear end down the freeway so I could get home to watch a game five. And man, what a game it was. Oh, how good was that? I remember it very, very well. I can remember laying on the bed. I was so ticked off. I called my wife, like, oh man, we're going to get beat. And all of a sudden, boom, Garvey hits that ball to right center field. And Henry Cotto, the right fielder for the Cubs, goes up and jumps and can't get it. And I think it was Don Drysdale goes, there will be tomorrow. So a good remembrance right there, O2RR. And thanks again for that, Super. Very much appreciate that. Okay, what else we got here? Keep them coming today. I've laid out a lot for you folks today. You got to step up to the plate for me today. Laureano's the only free agent I would want back. Everyone else can go. Hey, Max, here's the great star. Stop. This is a club option. They can bring him back for 6.5. He's not a free agent. They can bring him back for 6.5 or they can say goodbye. You got to bring him back. You got to bring him back. So that's good. Yeah, I wrote down Ramon Laureano club option for 6.5. Got to bring him back. Thank you, Max. Appreciate it. All right, what else we got? Do you think the Padres can afford to lose both King and Cease? Well, no, not at all. But I mean, if you're Michael King, you can come back for 15, but you could get 3.75 and then go out on a market and maybe get 20 or 25 a year. What would you do? Mike, how would you answer that? I mean, I don't think the Padres are going to, break the bank as far as payroll. I think it's going to go down a little bit. And I think I wrote down some stuff on payroll. Let me see if I got that. Yeah, I mean, I was busy. For the Padres season being over, I'm way too busy. Padres payroll. Okay, this year, as of right now, the best we can come up with, they were at about 211 million, which was ninth in baseball. A year ago, they were at 171,989,000. But you go back to 2023, they were at 257,201,000. And that was third in baseball that year. So they've gone from 2023 to 2025, third in baseball, 15th in baseball in 2024, and ninth this year. I would think with the way people come into Petco Park, not just the tickets, but the concessions, the souvenirs, the parking, they ought to be able to stay right around 211, shouldn't they? I don't know. We'll see what they got up their sleeve. But again, we don't have much coming from the farm, folks. That's part of the issue right there. While you're driving that payroll up, you got to go out and get help if you want to be a contender. And I got news for you. Arizona's not going away. They got some really good young players over there. Corbin Carroll, Geraldo Perdomo, those guys are good. Ketel Marte is still one of the best, if not the best, second baseman in baseball right now. They got some good young players over. They got some good arms. I don't know when Corbin Burns will come back next year. They got to figure out if they're going to try to re-sign Zach Gallen, who really didn't pitch very well this year. He had his moments the second half of the year. But they got some good young players over there. And I got news for you. San Francisco, they're not going to sit up there and take this forever. I mean, seriously, if the Padres aren't able to go out and get some help, they could be a fourth place ball club very quickly. Very quickly. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but there's a real thin line going on here in this division. I mean, if the Dodgers are ever able to stay healthy, which has been a real problem, especially with their pitching staff each of the last 3 years, if they're ever able to stay healthy, they may win this division again by 10 or 15 games. But they can't stay healthy. They played the entire year like it was spring training. And when they had to win, they did win. and they could turn it on. But I mean, Dave Roberts played a million different lineups and ran through a lot of different pitchers. I mean, I can't believe how many pitchers they went through. I got to go back and look at their stats and count up the different pitchers. I mean, they went through pitchers like right and left. Guys that pitch one game and get DFA'd or get sent back to Oklahoma City. They're running guys in and out of there. But there's a very fine line in the National League West right now. The Giants aren't that far behind us, and the Diamondbacks are definitely not real far behind us. In Colorado, they hired a new president of baseball operations. They kicked Bill Schmidt out as the general manager. We'll see what they're able to do, but they're years away. They're years away from doing anything dynamic in this division. But you know what? The hot off season is always fun, man. I always love the hot stove during the off season. Mike, thank you very much. But no, they can't lose both of those guys, but they may. They, like I said, they could give Cease a qualifying offer, and I think the qualifying offer is going to be just under $22 million this year. And so then, if he were to sign with somebody else, Padres would get some type of compensation. But Mike, thank you very much. Very much appreciate that. Richard Flores, you got to be awful happy. Every time I see that Dodger hat, I know this guy's smiling from ear to ear. Why does the San Diego media always seem to walk on eggshells around Manny? To me, he's nothing but a bully and a horrible team leader. You know why? Because Manny can probably get you fired. You know, if you work for the ball club and you get on the wrong side of Manny Machado, he could probably get you fired. I'm not saying he would, but he probably could. I think the media, number one, most of the people down there are more buddies with Manny, and they don't want to rock the boat, or maybe they'll get their press credential taken away unless you're an AP reporter where they can't really touch you. But if you're a local guy, they can make things very, very difficult. You know, what Manny did to Jake Arrieta the other day from CBS 8, a Bush League move. But if you watch the entire interview, Manny was actually pretty good until Jake asked him, how would you assess the season, which is more than a fair question. More than a fair question. And, you know, at first Manny was thinking, and then he got all irritated with Jake and said, come on, man. You know, you can ask a better question than that. You know, how do you want me to assess it? We just got beat. Manny could have just said, you know what, Jake? Because he should know Jake's name. I mean, Jake's down there all the time. Okay? He should have said, hey, Jake, you know what? I appreciate the question. I'm just not ready to go that direction. You know, we're going to have an end of the year thing. You know, we get back to San Diego, we're clearing out our locker. You know, I'll come up with an answer, but look around the clubhouse right now. My guys are hurting. And, you know, I'm not going to go into a big dissertation on how I assess the overall part of the season, but, you know, he tried to belittle Jake. And then when the mic was supposed to be off, he still went at him and said, come on, man, you can ask better questions than that. That was kind of Bush. Even Jim Rome picked up on it the other day and banged on Manny. You know, Manny, you know, he's a very talented player, but he's a prima donna. He really is a prima donna. And if he doesn't like what I'm saying, that's fine. He probably will never hear unless somebody tells him what I'm saying. He doesn't know me from a can of paint. Okay, because I wasn't necessarily covering the Padres day in and day out when I was working in sports talk radio after I got done doing the Padre pre and post game show. I was there his first couple of years, but you know he just kind of runs the roost. I don't know how much of a leader he really is. Just because he's supposed to be the best player doesn't mean you're the leader. All right, and a lot of times it's you know a center fielder or a catcher or it's hard for a pitcher to be a day in and day out leader, but I don't know if Manny's really the leader. And they say that because he's the best player and he's, you know, a veteran. Why isn't Xander Bogaerts the leader? Xander Bogaerts has been on better teams than Manny. He's been a part of World Series championships. So I don't know. I think, you know, Manny's 33, 34. We're going to see him here in a Padre uniform till 40. He's not going anywhere. Nobody's going to take that contract. Like we talked about on Friday, I mean, the one contract you could probably move if you wanted to move it would be Fernando. I think you could still get a pretty good chunk in return for Fernando. And I don't know where this ownership's at. See, I think by Thursday of this week or whenever if there's an off day with the playoffs, I think the Padres should hold a press conference. I think John Seidler should step to the mic and kind of give us the state of the Padres. I don't want to wait till after the World Series. I'd like to know now. What are they working on? What is their long-term plan for this ball club? What's the short-term and long-term plan? Somebody from the ownership that actually one of the principal owners needs to step to the mic and talk to the fans, because the fans, you guys have been so good to them by packing into the ballpark night in and night out. When you're getting 43,000 on a Monday and Tuesday, your fans are off the chart good. But yeah, no, I would agree. Everybody's afraid of Manning. There's no question about it. No question about it. But you know what? I guess he's allowed to act that way. I don't think there's a whole lot of accountability for him and Tatis. They kind of let those guys do what they want. The other guys kind of fall in line. And I think Bogart's a real good guy. And Bogarts gets it, man. Bogarts gets it. He knows what it's all about. He's been to the big time. Not sure some of these other guys, Manny, he never won nothing. Tatis never won nothing. Bogart's got a couple of rings. At least two, if not three, doesn't he? So that's what you got. Okay, what else we got? Got anything else today? Dodgers back in action today against the Phillies. Yeah, that's going to be a matchup. You got left-hander Blake Snell pitching very, very well. Snellzilla going against left-hander Jesus Luzardo. That game's going to be at 3:08. You know where I'm going to be at 3:08? Right in front of the television. That's going to be a hell of a game today. I love Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is really, really good, but they got their work cut out for them. They let that game slip away the other night. They had that game in the bag, and Teoscar Hernandez had struck out, three times prior to, got that pitch, and man, hit it over the right center field wall. He really finished the season very, very strong. So without Ohtani doing anything and Betts doing anything the other night, they still win. That's not a good recipe for Philadelphia, because those guys aren't going to go hitless forever. So the Dodgers lead that series 1-0. I got to be honest with you. And I understand they should have started probably a couple of games on Friday, because they're going against college football and they're going against NFL football. Yesterday we had 2 American League games. Today we're going to have 2 National League games every other day. Man, let's play some baseball here. It's hard. And guys want to play every day. I mean, yesterday, Dave Roberts ended up going down and getting his picture taken with Saquon Barkley at Lincoln Financial. How about the Eagles getting beat yesterday? Denver Broncos got them. But yeah, Dave Roberts went to the Eagles game yesterday and was down on the sidelines with Saquon Barkley. So the Dodgers had an off day in Philadelphia between game 1 and game 2, and they'll tee it up tonight. Also tonight, later at 6:08, you got Milwaukee. How about Milwaukee? They beat the Cubs the other day in game 1. They beat them, 9-3? I think it was. I think I wrote it down here. Or 9-6. But they jumped out to a 9-0 lead. Milwaukee scored one more run in the first inning. Than the Padres scored in the entire series. Padres had 5 runs, and the other day Milwaukee scored 6 in the first. And then they tacked on 3 more. They're up 9-0. They slopped around there and gave the Cubs an opportunity to get back into the game. Not really, but they won that game 9-6. So they'll go at it tonight. Shota Imanaga, the left-hander, going for the Cubbies, and a left-hander, and the nephew of our old buddy Andy Ashby, Aaron Ashby, going to start. He'll be the opener tonight for the Brew Crew. And then in the American League, a day off today. And boy, the Yankees need a day off, man. They got bludgeoned in game 1 up in Toronto 10-1. And then last night they got beat 13-7. So game 3 tomorrow, they win tomorrow or they're going home, man. It's been a miserable year for the Yankees. But I got to give Aaron Judge. I don't know if you saw Aaron Judge or Aaron Boone's interviews after the game last night. Those guys get it, man. I mean, Aaron Judge, class act all the way. Everything I've heard about that guy, he's like off the chart. Not only is he the best baseball player along with Ohtani in the world, he's a class act. Really, really impressed by him. And then the other series, really good. I mean, great game on Saturday night. Game 1, Detroit edged Seattle 3-2 in 11 innings. Then last night, Seattle had a 2-0 lead. Detroit ties it up with 2 runs in the 8th. Seattle gets an RBI double from Julio Rodriguez, bottom of the 8th, and they close it out. And they tied that series up at 1 game apiece. They'll play game 3 tomorrow night in Detroit at Comerica Park. So that series in pretty good shape. Okay, you got to get to the Aztecs. Now I went out to the game on Friday night, and I love going to Snapdragon Stadium. I have my little ritual. I park in the purple lot. I walk with my little backpack. I go down. Fletch on San Diego Sports 760 puts me on with J.R. Tolver. Usually in the second segment, when if I show up, do a little radio, talk to a bunch of the Aztec fans. Then I walk up, get my media pass, go to the press box, eat dinner with Teddy Mendenhall the other night, longtime colleague Darren Sparks, the public address announcer for Snapdragon for the Aztecs. Visit with a bunch of people, a lot of good people out there. And then I watched the Aztecs play one hell of a football game. I mean, they rolled up 540 total yards the other night against Colorado State. Colorado State now 1-4, 0-1 in conference. Aztecs improved to 4-1 and 1-0 in conference play. And they've already won more games than they won all last year. Remember last year in Sean Lewis's first year, they went 3-9. They got a good team, and their defense is really good. Now, the 24 was really not indicative of how well their defense played. They gave up a touchdown in the final play of the game, and they didn't even try to kick the extra point. The referee just ran off the field. CSU scored, game over. Aztecs win at 45-24. They limited Colorado State to 355 total yards. What was impressive is this offensive line is getting better and better and better. Aztecs have three legit dudes in the backfield. Okay, there's no question. They got Byron Cardwell, who's actually like the third string running back. He ran for 129 yards the other night and 15 carries and a touchdown. Now, he's more of a back that can do both inside and got the speed to get to the edge. And then you got the starter, Lucky Sutton from Cathedral Catholic. He had 113 yards the other night, 21 carries and 2 touchdowns. He's more of an inside power guy, move the pile type of guy, and got good, decent speed, but big, strong guy. And then you got Christian Washington, the kid from Helix, who's got good speed to get to the outside. And then Cardwell, he's kind of a combination of Lucky and Christian. He can do a little bit of both. And the other night, Christian Washington had 8 carries, 28 yards. But Aztecs had multiple 100-yard rushers for the first time since September 14th, 2019 at New Mexico State. And then their quarterback, Jaden Denigal, the kid that came from Michigan, outstanding, 13-16, 256 yards, 2 touchdowns. And he threw 3 deep balls the other night. 1 to Donovan Brown for a 45-yard touchdown. He threw 2 to Jordan Napier. 1 was a touchdown. The other came up a little bit short, but Aztecs played great. Trey White had a couple of sacks, the kid from Eastlake. Now they go to Nevada. Now, Nevada's not good. They've only won 1 game, but they gave Fresno State a really tough game the other night up in the Valley. They got beat by 3, but they found a young quarterback, a freshman quarterback, who I would imagine the way he played the other night will start against the Aztecs. Now, this is a game on Saturday night. And this is a game, the Aztecs win that, they'll be 5-1 and 2-0. And then they'll have Fresno State, and then they'll have a bye and come home on November 1st to take on Wyoming. So, don't look past the Nevada game thinking about Fresno State. You got to beat Nevada. And Nevada's got some good players. They got some good players. They haven't been able to put it together really yet. Only 1 win. But that's a game that could get you and bite you. And the Aztecs have not been good on the road. So we'll keep you up to date. Jonathan Oliveri will have a preview about 9:45 on Friday on our program. So again, that game's going to be 7:30 on Saturday night up at Mackey Stadium. It'll be on CBS Sports Network. And of course on San Diego Sports 760 with Big John Schaefer and Rich Orenberger. Both those guys do a very, very nice job. Okay, let's get to Coach's mailbag, see what we got today. User 2452, I'm worried for the Padres' future with the mystery around ownership. Only way I can answer that is I'm right with you on that. Bing, right there. I'm concerned as well. I want to know what the status is of the Seidlers and Shildt Seidler. And we hopefully are going to find that out here very soon now that the season's over. But I'm right there with you on that. User 2452, thank you very much. Fun. I'm sick of Tatis Jr.'s lack of excited to see what he can get for him if we trade him. Well, here's the deal. I said this on the show Friday, and I'm not afraid to have hard conversations with ball players. I'm really not, but a lot of people are. But I don't think this is an AJ Preller conversation. I think this is an AJ and ownership conversation first. And then I think you call in Fernando. I said this on the show Friday. He's got a no trade until after the 2028 season, I believe. Okay. He could always sign off on it and say, hey, you know what? I need a fresh start. I need to go somewhere else. And maybe he wants to. Maybe he still wants to play shortstop, and you're not going to play shortstop here. But I think John Seidler or whoever's making the decisions down there, they need to sit down with AJ and say, you know, what's going on with Fernando? What do you think? And we think we need to talk to him and find out where he's at. And I'd have a very blunt conversation with Fernando. Number one, I would want to find out how he is, um, you know, not just on the field, but off the field. Is there something nagging at him besides his $3.74 million that he owes the big league advance? And again, I don't know how he's going to get out of this contract. I mean, he signed it, and he may end up having to pay a total of $34 million just off his salary, the $340 he's going to make between now and 2034. That's a tough pill to swallow, but you got $2 million, made the deal, signed it, and you know you're on the hook for it. Unless somehow or another he can get out of it. I don't know, you know how. I don't even know how to tell you to get out of something like that, but you need to find out where he's at on the field as well as off the field. Because on the field, he's not the same player. And his numbers were okay, 268, 25 homers, you know, some stolen bases, playing a great right field still. But not playing with the passion or energy that we saw earlier in his career. The guy's going to be 27 years of age. And you got to find out, does he want to be here? I would ask, do you want to be here in San Diego? Or do you want us to work out a deal to send you somewhere else? And I think the Padres would be okay with that. Yeah, they'd have to redo a bunch of their commercials and all that stuff. But you know what? Where they're at financially, they may want to do that and reallocate that money to some pitching and going out there and see what you can do. But I mean, I thought he was going to be a Hall of Famer. When we saw him the first 3 years, man, this guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He's not going to be in the Hall of Fame the way he's playing right now. There's no way. I mean, anybody out there disagree with me on that from what you're seeing from him right now? And I know he's got a lot of years left, but he's not playing like a Hall of Fame type ball player. He hasn't had that. He had the one big year where he hit 42 dingers, but now he's in the 20s. So I don't know. Maybe he can recoup that power. I don't know. But now and he's my favorite player. He's my favorite Padre player. I love Arrives too, but I figure he's gone as well. But as far as Fernando, he's my favorite player, but I'm very frustrated with him. It doesn't look like he's enjoying playing anymore. But I appreciate the question. Thank you very much. All right, that's going to do it today, folks. Gave you a lot to chew on. I tried to give you a lot of good stuff today. From Mike Shildt to Victor Rodriguez to what happened with Fernando to the ball club, free agent wise. And again, we want your comments. We really want your comments. I want to hear what you have to say. So make sure you do that. Type in the comments. And if we didn't get you on today, we'll get you on Coach's Mailbag on Wednesday. And again, thank you very much for tuning in. Please subscribe. Please also like the show. Turn on your notifications. And if you'd like to help support the channel, you can go to our YouTube page. And there's a little button there that says join. And you just hit that button and you'll get all signed up for $2.99 a month. And we'll continue to bring this program to you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Until Wednesday morning, 9 a.m., have a great day. Enjoy the playoffs, Monday Night Football, all that good stuff. And we'll look forward to talking with you on Wednesday. And I'll come in with some more ammunition. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.